Welcome to Behind the Model, a show diving into the virtual world and exploring its stories with the VTubers who lead the way. I, for one, cannot understand for the life of me what happens in a regular Luna the Foxgirl stream, but I can tell you she works on some pretty amazing stuff. She's been programming for years and years, starting on floppy disks and now building up to projects like the open source Inochi2D VTubing engine. There's a lot going on under the hood, both in terms of the program she creates and her own journey to here, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Luna, welcome to Behind the Model.
What?
The cutest little awoo.
Thank you for having me on, I guess. Words are hard.
No. I mean, words hard for you, but my god, you make programming look easy. I've seen some of your stuff and also like the broader stuff of Null Pointer, and I am entirely lost, but at the same time, massively intrigued by what you guys do.
I mean, I'm also completely lost. Sometimes I make things that make sense. Other times I'm like, I have no idea what this code does anymore.
Isn't that just the programmer life? Just making
Yeah,
something
it's
but
just
not
like-
even understanding what it is?
Yeah, otherwise you see some code like, who wrote this awful code? Run git blame. Ah, goddammit, it was me.
Especially if it's like, I wrote this like 2 years ago? What was I thinking? What was I doing at this point in time?
For me, it's just like a week ago.
Well, you have been programming for a long time, as I said at the top, and that is, I think, the most not maybe the most interesting, but definitely like the draw card of you, and sets apart you and the Null Pointer group, which we'll get into later, from other VTubers. So I guess that's a wonderful place to start. Is how'd you get into programming and why?
That's a long story. I started out when I was 5. My parents did not give me very much supervision on the computer, so I played Doom, you know, the first-person shooter for MS-DOS. I was like, I wonder how you make things like these, because like it really inspired me to like, holy, you can make cool things with computers. That kind of devolved into me figuring out about programming languages, and then figuring out that Windows 98/MS-DOS comes with a programming language called QBasic, and then I started writing QBasic. Granted, I was really horrible at programming for like, I don't know, 10 years.
What was the kind of like technology that you like started with? Because this very much interested me when we first spoke.
Yeah, QBasic. It's a text-only programming language by Microsoft. It has some like drawing routines and stuff, so I wanted to make video games because of Doom, so I learned all the graphics routines and the sound routines where you could make the PC speaker beep, and then I tried to make small games with it. They were all awful, by the way, but I did try to make video games with it.
What kind of
Also,
games
it's
are we
just
talking here?
Well, at the start it would just be like text mode games, and later it would be like small adventure games and whatever. I tried to make a platformer. That did not go well. QBasic is dog slow, so you know, I would get an average of like 2 FPS out of that.
Right. And
So,
yeah,
it wasn't the greatest start.
but you had to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and also like, well, it did come with one game called Gorillas.Bass, which is like I don't even remember anymore. It's so many years ago, but I used a lot of the example programs that came with as reference, because like I did not know much English back then. So my learning experience was just, I wonder what this does if I change it, and then I figured out what it did, and then I just kept repeating that to like learn what keywords did and what if statements did and all that fun stuff.
Okay, that's an interesting way of using a coding language to learn another phonetic language, I guess.
Yeah, later I would, oh god, Roblox. I would beg friends of Roblox, and I would then speak with them in very broken English, and that improved my English as well.
What about like the game development drew you to making the games versus just, I guess, the enjoyment of playing them?
I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
That's a nice, easy answer.
So, yeah, yeah. I thought it was cool, and I was like, okay, I want to figure out how to do this stuff. And then I spent way too many hours and way too many years trying to learn all this stuff.
how long now?
Oh, I started when I was 5.
Yeah.
I'm 23 now. Oh god.
Almost 2 years programming. Oh, almost 2 decades, sorry. 2 decades programming.
18 years.
Yeah.
I totally did not have to use a calculator for this. I'm actually horrible at math, by the way. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess then we can take a few steps further now into a kind of recent history.
Yeah.
In VTubing, you're probably known for creating a little engine known as Inochi2D, as I mentioned at the top. How did that come about as a little programming project for you?
Well, I was making a lesbian Foxgirl visual novel mahjong fusion game, and I wanted an animation system for it. I was looking at Live2D initially, and I saw the terms for it, and I was like, I don't want to use that. That looks kind of, not great. So I decided to roll my own, because of course I would. I'm the one who keeps reinventing the wheel, after all. So yeah, I started as that, and then the friend I was working with on the game left the project, and then kind of just like was in limbo for a while, and then the entire phase rig thing happened. And I was like, I wonder in the VTubing space for 2D, what's the options? And then it's just like only Live2D. So I decided to take that prototype thing I was working on for that game engine and turn it into its own project for VTubing and also game development. And here we are now, 3 years later.
How much of that was like running while trying to learn how to walk and like stumbling your way through engine development and all the kind of fun and joy that comes with that?
Not much, because I've already been doing this for years and years. So it's just like, I designed Inochi2D like a game engine, which is maybe not the best thing in the world in some regards, but it uses something called a scene graph, which is basically a system where you have a node, and a node can contain other nodes, and when they are contained within a node, they will follow the node they're like bound to. And stuff like that. It can be a bit complicated to explain in easy terms, but this is the same kind of node graph system you would find in a game engine like Godot, and less so in a game engine like Unity. But yeah, I designed it very much like a game engine, and I feel my expertise in game engine development has actually helped Inochi2D a bit, because I am aware of all the nuances of 3D graphics programming. Live2D has a lot of mistakes, like very beginner mistakes in its code base, and I don't think they can really fix it anymore without breaking everyone's models. So
I guess how do you kind of oh, sorry.
Inochi2D kind of didn't fall into those pitfalls immediately.
Obviously, though, it's the one thing with coding, as we mentioned at the top, is it's like, well, you can kind of look at something and it's like, why did I decide to do that? Why did I go in that direction?
Yeah. And Live2D basically did all the 101 graphics programmer mistakes. So, yeah.
How do you kind of describe like what goes into engine development to a layman, kind of like me, who has absolutely zero idea what goes into programming?
I think it would be best just to explain what a game engine does. A game engine is just a tool which a game is built on, and it's mostly just stuff like opening a window, taking keyboard input, figuring out how you load models, textures, sound, and exposing that to the programmer of the game, and stuff like how is a world defined in the game engine, like what is a world, and what is the entities inside that world, and how are they connected to the world, stuff like that. So it's basically very fundamental tooling stuff for games to work. And like Godot, Unity, Unreal, those are what we call generic engines. So they're made to work with, basically any game you throw at it. Even though they aren't always the most optimal for doing it, they at least work, and you have the same workflow every time, so you can have a team of people working on it easily. The engines I make are usually domain specific, so like they will be made for one specific type of game. I've made engines for like visual novels. You know, Ren'Py is actually an engine made specifically for visual novels.
Mm.
I've made engines for platformers, Metroidvanias, stuff like that.
Mm.
And then you gotta develop all the tools to let like, you know, non-programmers make levels, all that stuff.
Mm. And you mentioned that like you kind of took up the development of like Inochi2D when your game project fell through. But how has that kind of progressed in like the years since, especially when we've seen so much technology in VTubing change, and how have you kind of seen that go?
I think the technology side has kind of gotten worse.
Mm.
We keep relying on stuff like Unity and stuff, which, like, game engines like Unity are made with the assumption that the game is the main thing they'll be running. And as such, it doesn't really have any system of holding back, really, when it comes to, like, rendering and stuff. So it will often fight with resources with other things you're running, which is maybe not the greatest for VTubing models. Because, you know, people will have games running at the same time and the streaming software and all that stuff.
Mm.
And I'm trying to develop Inochi2D to not have those pitfalls, so it will try to like minimize the amount of resources it uses. So, yeah.
How much, I guess,
It doesn't-
success have you found with that so far?
A decent amount. We have like 1,000 people in the Discord. It somewhat pays my bills, I guess, with donations. But otherwise, yeah, it's going slow, which is pretty normal for like, you know, open source. So
I think that's a pretty like big point that you bring up there, because like you mentioned that the Live 2D license was a bit prohibitive for you. There's not too much out there for like the animation side of things that interested you. So you made Inochi2D and you made it open source. What is the kind of meaning of that to you?
well, over my many years of coding, I've watched toolkits and programming languages by like, you know, proprietary ones made by companies where the code is closed, fizzle out of existence and no longer be supported, and you're just like, I guess I'm stuck now. This won't be updated for anything new, and in a few years' time, the game will probably not launch, or the thing I'm making will probably not launch anymore because systems change over time. And also just like the fact that companies can, you know, go bankrupt, screw you over, stuff like that. You've seen that with Unity as of recent. The only real solution to that is open source, because then the user base is the ones in power, not a company. So that's why I think it's important, because then it's the VTubers who are in power and not like, you know, any company. It's not Live2D that decides what you can do. It's not Benchy, even though, you know, Benchy is cool, but he makes the software and sells it, and it's proprietary and stuff like that. So like when it's open, yeah, you're pretty safe in the. How would you say that in English? You can be safely assured that, like, the technology stack won't be the thing that screws you over. Is the thing. So that's why I feel it's important. But also, like, open source fosters collaboration. We have like people from China, Japan, all around the world. Also some from like Indonesia. There's some people in Russia, I guess. They kind of fizzled out. I don't know about that. Europe, America, like all over the world, who are either contributing, sending bug reports, coming with good ideas, stuff like that. So, and some are even contributing translations for their native language for creator and stuff, so that it'll be easier for people from those languages to actually, or from those countries, to actually, you know, use the software. So it's pretty great, the collaboration.
What do you think kind of sets like Inochi2D apart compared to what else is out there? Like, what have you tried to do that is different, I guess, in the nuts and bolts of things?
Well, mainly, the rendering system of Inochi2D is very extensive and extendable. So a programmer who wants to add like something special to the model, they can add whatever they want to Inochi2D and it'll just work. It has a system of both backwards and forwards compatibility. So like, if someone else loads a model that uses a feature that's not in their version of Inochi2D, it will just ignore the part but still keep it in the model, and then just still load the model. So there's a lot of like robustness and stability in that. And then there's all the rendering features. I have like the advanced blending and all that stuff. My model here doesn't really showcase it all that well, but Live2D only has 2 blending modes. We implement a lot more. So, and that allows you to do more with your art. And there's other extensions in the works, stuff like per part shaders. So you could actually like write shader code to affect the parts of your model. And yeah, there's a lot there. Rendering features you wouldn't find in Live2D, that's for sure.
I guess,
and
we've had like this talk about like, you know, the tech that goes into it and like all that kind of stuff. But on a personal level, what does the Inochi2D project mean to you?
Quite a lot. It means a lot to me. It's become kind of a passion project. I sadly had to stop working on it full time recently because the monetary support is not enough to like, you know, sustain development right now. Hopefully that will change in the future. But it means a lot to me. The community means a lot to me. Every time I see people in the showcase channel post like cool things they're making with Inochi2D, I feel like warm and fuzzy inside. There was one person who was like animating an entire solar system in Inochi2D for some reason.
Damn, okay.
That was really cool. And then there's some people working on like rigging hands, rigging other stuff. It's really interesting and cool. There's also a while back I added support for like pixel art models. Live2D handles them horribly. Now we handle them pretty well. And I'm seeing like pixel artists start using Inochi2D and they're cool pixel models. So yeah, it means a lot to me, and the community makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Does it let you engage with the community in a different way than just being a VTuber, just wiggling around as a model? Like, what is that different interaction like?
Mostly support requests. But there's also just the interaction of like people liking the mascot, people showing up to Comic-Con, buying a disc that we made with some extra stuff on it. People drawing fan art of our mascot. That's all really cool stuff. It makes me happy.
What was Comic-Con like? Like tabling at Comic-Con? Like you brought it up then, like you went and sold Inochi2D to a different international audience. What goes into that? How the hell does that come about?
So Seagech, which is a Japanese contributor to the project and a friend of mine, we decided we're going to Comic-Con. And then we went to Comic-Con. So we made a disc where we had like a game on it, special versions of Creator and Session. What more did we put on there? Some example models and some rigging videos, stuff like that. And then we also made some ADA stickers, which is the error, information, warning, blah, 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 dialogue, ADA drawings that we have in Creator. Those were turned into stickers so people can stick them onto things. And we managed to make a return of investment in that. Like normally circles in, you know, Comic-Con don't really make their money back they spent on putting this stuff up. We made it all back, and we even got a bit of a profit. Not much. It's like 1,300 yen or something like that. It wasn't not a lot of money we got. But, you know, it's very good for the first time being at Comic-Con.
Yeah. What's it like being, like, I guess, a European tabling at Comic-Con, and I guess not being from Japan?
I mean, there's people who do that pretty often. The thing is, to table at Comic-Con, you need to have a fluent Japanese speaker with you. So, yeah, Seagech did a lot of the interaction, and also with the staff at Comic-Con, because the staff will sometimes come over. And also stuff like Melon Books came over, gave us a business card, and then we put some stuff about Melon Books. So yeah, it's interesting. The most interesting thing that happened was that a person cosplaying as Luna came by the table. It was a really cute cosplay.
As in like
maybe one DLC
as in like Asahina, like Your
Yes,
yeah,
Asahina,
yeah.
my group mate. Yeah, a member of the Null Pointer Live Discord came by because they were at Comic Con too, and I asked them to like get me something that wasn't day one where I wouldn't be there. They got me the thing, and they came cosplaying as Luna, which was really cool.
I guess this provides a perfect segue into Null Pointer as a group. How did that come about, and what is it all about? Because I want to hear it from your mouth. I think it's one of the kind of more unique groups that you'll ever see in VTubing.
It started out with Lena and me. Lena came to me to get a model made. She wanted to start doing VTubing, so I helped her. And she wanted to do it with open source, of course, because it's not a shirt that Live2D would actually run on the M1, because she wanted to run it on the Mac. She's like working on it. So, yeah, she approached me. We spent like 2 weeks before her debut. We were crunching to get like all the features we needed implemented. And also rigging her model. I rigged most of it at the start, but now she's taken over rigging it. And after that, well, actually slightly before that, we decided, why don't we start a VTuber group? But like a more, I wouldn't say informal, but like our group is structured more like a cooperative. So like whenever we make decisions, it's done via vote with all the members, stuff like that. And yeah, we decided to do that. And then we invited people on board. So people keep asking us when we're going to do auditions, but we actually don't do auditions. We find people that we think are interesting, and then we vote on whether we will invite them to the group. And like, there are some requirements. For example, you have to bring your own model, stuff like that. We do, provide each other resources, but it's mostly like software or hardware related. Like if someone needs a little piece of software within my expertise, I can write it for them, stuff like that. But otherwise, it's like, you bring a model, you do something interesting, you seem chill, we might invite you in. So, and that's how Aki and Keitan joined us. I thought they were cool. I asked Lita, hey, can we invite these two? Sure, okay. And then they joined us. And Aki does like crazy hardware stuff. She works with FPGAs and chip design. She makes her own microchips.
Damn,
it's really cool. Keitan does game development with like Unity and I think Godot as of recently due to the Unity debacle. I do game engine design. Lena does driver development for Linux. And now with the newcomers, Kiri and Nethir. Nethir is a UX designer. We are planning to do a series where I teach Nethir software development from scratch. And Kiri is a commercial game developer who works for, I forgot the name of the company. It's an MMO company. She works on MMOs on her day job, and then she does streams where she like makes her own VTuber software in Godot and game development, Doom modding, all kinds of cool things.
What's it like having this like kind of like repository of knowledge and this kind of different focus for a group for someone like you who is just completely immersed in this space?
Pretty fun. We have a lot of interesting conversations. And also me and Kiri really likes to nerd out about old technology.
The little Dreamcast project that you've got going on in the background now.
Yeah, I kind of got a Dreamcast with a serial connector hacked onto it and a special CD that tricks the Dreamcast to open the serial port for uploading code. Same method also used for piracy, but I'm using it for making games.
Yeah. I don't think they're making Dreamcast games anymore. I don't think they've been doing that for, I could say comfortably, a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, the Sega Naomi, which is like the arcade version of the Dreamcast, that was actually like, in service for like a very long time. The reason why I wanted to do the Dreamcast is because it has a Power VR GPU, like a graphics processor. The Apple M1 and iPhones use technology licensed from Imagine Technologies, which is the creators of Power VR. So basically, they have lineage together. So Dreamcast and M1 are tangentially related. So that's why I decided I wanted to do also some game development in the Dreamcast, because that kind of ties into what Lena is doing with the M1 and the, you know, Apple GPU, which has some technology licensed from Power VR.
Is there any way to
Stuff like
Frankenstein the two projects together?
Probably. It would be incredibly cursed. I mean, I have an M1 Mac. I could just set the serial up with that and then do the development Mac. Then it would be, you know, Frankenstein together.
I can guarantee you it's probably not any like more cursed than some of the other projects you've probably tackled in your life.
Yeah. I'm starting to get cursed ideas, and I don't know I shouldn't. Currently, I'm working on like porting the DE programming language to the Dreamcast, which is the first step in like making homebrew, because I don't want to be writing C++. That's for masochists like actually. So yeah, I'm porting the runtime and libphobos to the Dreamcast, but like a small subset of it. Otherwise, it will struggle fitting in the RAM of the Dreamcast. Because the Dreamcast only has 16 megabytes of RAM.
God, that's wild to think about nowadays as well, when I look at my computer and it's 32 gigs.
Yeah. How much is mine? Wait a second. Control-Shift Escape, sorry. God, they changed this in Windows 11. 16 gigabytes. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
Fantasy Zones. We're detecting an application running. Go away. I keep getting notifications. Earlier was a Java update.
I guess with like all this like programming stuff and like the growth through there, and now you've got the group around you with Null Pointer, how have you kind of grown as a person over time through VTubing?
That's a hard question. I mean, I've grown in terms of like, you know, interacting with people, and also like when I started, I had really severe anxiety. Now I'm an antidepressant / anti-anxiety medicine, which helps a lot, so it's easier to stream now. I feel I've gotten better at like talking to people. Yeah, I don't know. I've also just like learned from Lena and others, like things about like social interaction, which were difficult for me. I mean, it's still difficult for me, but it's gotten more like, you know, manageable would be the word, I guess.
It's like Null Pointer is not just like a tech resource for you and like a repository of brains. Like it is a very critical social one for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my groups of friends. Like, yeah, we're basically all friends in there now. And I also like, you know, moderators, Null Pointer Life moderators in the Discord. I've also befriended them. It's fun. Some of them play Final Fantasy with me. Other people I hung out with while I was in Japan. It was great.
I guess, how much has like VTubing changed the way that you look at programming for yourself?
Not much. I mean, I've always just like been really into nerding out about programming, so it doesn't really change much for me in that regard.
So a little bit on the personal side, not so much on the professional.
Yeah. On the professional side, it's just like what I've always been doing.
Yeah. I guess
a different field than like strictly game engine development, but like, you know, I've done other stuff than that. I've worked on business software. You don't want to know what nightmare Microsoft Dynamics C5 is. You don't.
I guess with all that like now in mind, is the ultimate goal for you making Inochi2D your full-time project and making it a big name in the VTubing space?
Full-term project, yes. Big name, maybe. I mean, personally, I feel that I want Inochi2D, and that's like what I'm going for. That Inochi2D kind of just like, you know, lives side by side with Live2D and Spine, because, you know, competition breeds innovation. So like, while Inochi2D would probably like, you know, be able to do much on its own because it's like more collaborative than a proprietary project like Live2D. It's still good to have the competition as well, I feel. So I kind of want to coexist with Live2D, even though I personally don't like their terms and all that stuff.
It's like a case of, it is still friendly competition at the end of the day. Like, it is going to be like, you make improvements, they make improvements, and hopefully at the end of the day, it's the VTubers who win.
Yeah. Just, I feel they maybe have added dark mode partially because of Inochi Creator having it for a while. I know they know about me, but like, they probably don't see me as a threat yet, at least. But I am worried that their lawyers are gonna come after me at some point. Like I've done nothing wrong. Inochi2D is like completely separate from Live2D, and we do not use any of their code. We have not studied their thing. We've completely made it from scratch with our own idea. So
you're just passionate about the code itself and just making engines and doing all the stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just, I just find it. I'm weird. I find making game engines in Inochi2D fun. This is like, I do it for fun. Other people do it for money. I do it for fun.
You do it for fun and you do it for pain.
Yes.
Fun and suffering equal in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't be a software developer if you aren't just a little bit of a masochist.
Well, Luna, I really appreciate you coming on to Behind the Model and sharing, I guess, a little bit under the hood on Inochi2D, but also yourself as well, and the wonderful connections that you've made through VTubing. Luna is the latest guest on my series Behind the Model, diving into the stars who make VTubing the creative medium we love. If you're interested in more of Luna's story, you can read the accompanying article linked in the description. You can also find all of her social media channels below. I really want to thank you guys all for your patience while I've been on hiatus. I'm looking forward to sharing more great stories across 2024 with you. We're aiming for a new episode every fortnight, not every week, with some amazing creators across the virtual world. So, until next time, thank you.